right, let's talk about grip, position, and posture. So it's important to understand what a good default setting is for these things for you so that you avoid injury and you sound great at the instrument and you're more efficient at the instrument. So let's talk about grip first. I recommend matched grip. That's just grabbing the sticks like you naturally would, and both hands look basically the same. In contrast to traditional grip, where the stick runs through the left hand like that, and the right hand is essentially matched grip. This way of playing is it's kind of obsolete here in 2019. This came about many hundreds of years ago from playing snare drum in the military, where we hung a snare drum over our shoulder and it hung off to the side and had this steep angle to it. So this would be the head of the drum. And the only way you could actually play this thing was to hold the stick like this, because if you just held it normal, you'd hit the rim the whole time or the side of the drum the whole time. And they hadn't figured out that maybe we could mount the snare drum in front and have it be level. Like, that didn't exist yet. So we just hung these things over our shoulders and had to hold the stick like that in order to play it. And then many years later, when the drum set was invented, we just continued to play that way, and it took many years, actually, for us to go, oh, wait, it's drum set. We don't need to hold the stick like that anymore. It's not really necessary. So, there are a couple little advantages to traditional grip, and there's a lot of romance behind it. It does look cool, and for certain things, it kind of feels cool. But the advantages of playing matched far outweigh those couple advantages of playing traditional. So the matched is really the way to go for modern drum set here in 2019 and beyond. So, matched grip. Now that word grip, it's not really the best word, because we don't want there to be a ton of pressure. We don't want to be holding onto the sticks really hard. For one thing, we can develop injury because there's all this tension. And over time, that tension can cause things like tendonitis or tennis elbow, and we don't want that. So the other thing is, if you're holding it hard like that, the stick is really stiff, right? And when you hit a drum, all that stiffness is translating into the drum, and it makes it sound choked. So if you hold it nice and loose, and the stick can move freely, and it actually vibrates when you hit something, that vibration will translate into the drum or part of the instrument, and you'll have this beautiful, open, nice sound. So the name of the game here is just being super relaxed and super loose in your grip. The stick should be able to kind of dance around in there a bit. There is a little bit of pressure between the thumb and usually the first finger. Now, people will argue, should the stick run through this crease in your finger, or should it run through that crease in your finger? And, I don't really care that much. I've seen some guys that have really bad technique as far as those little details go, and they sound phenomenal. So, and for me, I think I'm kind of in the middle of those creases a lot of times. And I have tried, both of those approaches, and, whatever. As long as we're super loose and relaxed and playing matched, I think we're doing the right thing. Now, the other crucial part of this is, what about all those other fingers? So those fingers need to basically be on the stick most of the time as well. We don't want them just like hanging out like that, not doing anything, because we need those fingers. All these fingers give us control over our sticks and over the instrument, which is what we want. So keeping all the fingers engaged and part of the action the whole time is the goal. Now, let me also talk quickly about where to hold the drumstick. So as you can see right now, this is kind of my default setting for where I hold the sticks. Like if I'm in the practice room and I'm trying to be like perfect in my playing and I'm trying to work out things, that's my default setting. So you can see I have maybe a couple inches of the butt end of the stick coming out the back. So I am choked up a little bit on the stick. And this gets me kind of right in the balanced zone of the drumstick. If I can find it there. Boop, there it is, right? So basically, it makes the stick work really well for me. It's right in that fulcrum point, the balance point, so that I have equal weight on both ends, and that gives me better control. Now, I don't always stay there. I do come back, sometimes really far, like that far. Sometimes I'm just holding on to the butt end barely. And what that does is it makes it feel like there's more weight towards the tip, and I'm able to play much louder and harder and with more volume, with less effort, because it feels like there's more weight. But by doing that, I lose control. So that kind of only works if I'm playing things that need to be loud and don't involve a lot of technical control. Okay, so that's matched. And, you know, this can move around a little bit. When I'm actually playing the kit and I'm playing music with people, my grip will change a little bit. Sometimes, like when I'm on the hi-hat, I'll sort of put my thumb on top like that. And I'm not sure why I do that. It just sort of feels right. Sometimes when I'm on the ride cymbal, for example, and it's not a technically demanding thing, I might even run the stick through those two fingers and sort of play like that for a little while. It just gives me a different position for a little bit. It makes it feel different. So, you know, I'm flexible with this. But again, it's just sort of establishing like the best default setting that technically could work for everything. Certainly when you're in the practice room. And then, hell, when you're on stage playing music with people, like, don't think about it. Like, let your body do what it wants to do. Okay, so that's grip. Let's talk about position. And that just refers to, like, what do your hands and arms look like if you just sat down in front of a snare drum or a practice pad like this. We have this little pie shape, right? Now, what I'm doing right now is sort of what we would call American position, where the backs of my hands are not facing up completely, and they're not facing out to the side, but they're sort of in between. It's this nice, natural position that just makes sense, and that's what I recommend. The other positions would be back of the hand facing up. This is what we call German, and to me this is a very stiff, rigid feeling position and is really awkward if you're trying to move around a drum set. The other position would be back of the hands facing out, or the thumbs are facing up like this and your sticks are parallel. This is French position or timpani grip. A lot of timpani players play this way. It's nice because you can really incorporate the fingers. It's hard to get volume. So, like, a lot of times when we're on the ride cymbal, for example, playing, like, jazz ride patterns or whatever, usually we're in this position because it just makes sense for that kind of thing. But, like, if we're playing backbeats on a snare and it's like a rock thing and we need volume, it just doesn't make sense to play that way. It's the American thing is better for that situation. So it's basically, for me, it's like American, all the time, except for when I'm on a ride cymbal or maybe I'm on something else over here, and then I'm sort of French. Maybe occasionally on the hi-hat I'm in French, okay? But that's, that's sort of default position. Again, when you're playing around the kit and you're making music with people, that can change. It doesn't, we're not forcing this American position all the time. Like, let your body do what it wants to do. Okay, so that's position. Let's talk about posture. So basically referring to what does your spinal column look like. So basically, you are your instrument. When it comes to drum set, we incorporate the whole body, and every part of the body is essentially connected to the spinal column eventually. So let me turn to the side here. So right here, this is a nice posture. You can see my spine is basically straight up and down. My chest is lifted a little bit. I have this uplifting, very centered kind of posture without forcing it, without being tense. This is the position that the spinal column wants to be in. All those nerves and everything that runs through it, they're able to actually do their thing because the spinal column is in this balanced central position. If I were to hunch over, I start to crimp all those nerves running through my spine, and to some degree I start to lose good blood flow and good circulation, and that can translate into my legs, into my feet that are on the pedals, into my arms and my fingers that are trying to play with sticks. So being hunched over, you're compromising your entire system. Same if you were to arch back like this. Same deal. So we just want this nice centered posture. And this also goes, if we look at the front of my body, I got this alignment, right? Straight up and down, nice and centered. I'm not hunched off to one side or the other. This is a problem we see with guys that play traditional grip a lot of times, because when they're playing the snare drum, they gotta come down in order to get a rim shot on the drum. And you can see that my left shoulder drops in order to do that. So a lot of guys that play traditional on a drum set, they have this kind of bad alignment going on. They're tipped this way, and that's compromising their spinal column. A lot of those guys end up with back injuries later in life. So, you are your instrument. It's important to have a nice balanced, centered, symmetrical body. Now, again, when I'm making music with people and I'm deep in the moment and the music is moving me, you may see me in some weird postures. Like sometimes, for example, like maybe we're super low volume and I'm over here on the hi-hat and I'm all choked up on the drumsticks. It's this low volume, really intense energy. Like that happens quite a bit. You look at my posture right now. It's horrible, right? I'm hunched over and I'm way off to one side. But that's okay. We're not hanging out there the whole time. Right? We come back to our default setting here, right? So, again, when the music is moving you, you let your body do what it wants to do. But when you're in the practice room and you're trying to train your system to be efficient and balanced, think about these default settings I just talked about with grip, position, and posture, okay? And you'll be on your way. So, cool. I think that's it for now. Groovy. I'll see you next time.